The first thing they noticed was the silence, so deep, so unnatural, it felt like the desert itself was holding its breath. Redwater, Nevada was supposed to be a small, dusty highway town, but when the travelers arrived, it looked like something had hollowed it out overnight. Houses were halves, wallowed by sand, cars were buried up to their windows, and the wind carried a strange low hum that sounded almost human. The group of 5 stepped out of their vehicle and felt the ground subtly tremble under their boots, as if something large moved beneath the surface. At first they thought it was an earthquake until they saw the town's welcome board, freshly broken in half, the wood splintered from inside out, like something had punched through it. They called out, searched the homes, checked the diner, the station, the motel. Every door swung open at the slightest touch, every room looked recently lived in, every meal on the table was still warm. It was as if people vanished in the middle of breathing, a feeling twisted in their stomachs. Something was seriously wrong. And then the sand near their feet suddenly shuddered, rising slightly, almost as if it were breathing back. They thought they were alone, until they saw him standing perfectly still at the edge of the road. Sheriff Cole Walker didn't blink, didn't flinch, didn't even seem to notice the burning sun above him. His face looked drained of life, eyes sunken but wide open, staring straight ahead as if trapped inside his own body. When the group approached him, he finally spoke, but his voice was flat, hollow, repeating one phrase over and over: "The desert keeps what it takes." No matter what they asked where the townspeople went, what happened here, why the buildings were sinking, he only repeated that same haunting line. One of the travelers tried to guide him toward the car, but the sheriff's skin felt cold, almost gritty, as though dust was mixing with his flesh. Then, without warning, he turned his head toward the dunes, pointing at the sand with a stiff, unnatural motion. Human footprints led into the desert, but they didn't lead back out. The prints just stopped, abruptly, like the person was swallowed mid-step. Sheriff Walker whispered again, softer this time, "You shouldn't have come." The wind rose suddenly, pulling sand into small spirals. Something was waking. The ground began to whisper, faint at first, like wind brushing through dry grass. But then the voices grew louder, overlapping, crying, begging, calling from beneath the earth. The group froze, realizing the sounds weren't coming from the dunes around them, but directly under their feet. One of them, Mia, knelt and pressed her ear to the sand, only to jerk back in horror. She heard hundreds of voices layered together, men, women, children, all pleading, all desperate. The others hesitated, but curiosity mixed with fear pushed them to dig. The sand was warm, too warm, almost pulsing like an overheating engine. After just a few inches of digging, Mia uncovered something wrapped in faded cloth. She pulled it out, expecting an artifact, but it was a human bone. The cloth around it glowed faintly with a dull golden shimmer, as if absorbing sunlight even in the shade. Then more whispering erupted, angrier this time. The sand shifted violently, covering the bone again like a living creature reclaiming its prey. The group stumbled back as the ground rippled outwards, small dunes rising and falling as though thousands of unseen hands pressed upward. The truth chilled them. The desert wasn't burying people, it was imprisoning their souls. Midnight struck with a sudden gust so powerful it knocked one of them off balance. The desert lit up with streaks of blue lightning, not from the sky but from the sand itself. Grains of sand shot into the air, swirling into a massive storm that towered over the abandoned town. The storm wasn't shaped like a simple cloud. It formed a face, a giant, tormented, shifting face made of screaming sand. The group ran for shelter, but the storm moved with purpose, hunting them, each roar sounding like thousands of voices trapped inside its core. When it hit, they were thrown into blinding visions, a soldier crawling through the desert, sinking as the sand wrapped around him, a gold miner swallowed by the dunes, settlers disappearing one by one as something ancient awakened beneath their camp. The survivors gasped, realizing these weren't hallucinations, these were memories of the storm's victims. One by one, the visions bled into reality, showing the last moments of every soul the desert had consumed. When the storm finally eased for a moment, the face dissolved into swirling emptiness, but the ground still vibrated. The storm was not trying to kill them, it was choosing its next offering. They fled in their SUV, desperate to escape the cursed town. The engine roared, and the tires struggled on the shifting sand, covered asphalt. Relief washed over them when they finally reached Route 19 until they saw the sign. Redwater 3 miles. They kept driving 10 minutes, 20, 30s, beating away as far as possible. But the same sign appeared again, broken at the same corner, covered in the same dust. Redwater 3 miles. Panic erupted. The road stretched endlessly ahead, but no matter how far they traveled, the desert looped them back, twisting reality like a snake eating its tail. The GPS spun wildly, showing the car moving in circles even as they drove straight. They tried turning around, switching roads, even driving off-road, but every attempt ended with the same result, the sign waiting for them like a warning. Redwater 3 miles. Mia checked the rear-view mirror and gasped. Their tire tracks behind them were disappearing, erased by unseen hands smoothing the sand. The desert wasn't letting them leave. It wasn't a place anymore. It was a trap woven from dark rituals, old sins, and hungry souls. And the trap was tightening. Just when hopelessness settled in, they saw something ahead. Small, fragile, drifting like smoke. A little girl made entirely of sand stood in the middle of the road, her eyes glowing softly like embers. She didn't speak with her mouth. Her voice vibrated through the wind itself. "Follow me," she whispered, and though fear gripped them, they obeyed. She led them off the road and into the deeper desert where the dunes rose like giant waves. The sand under their feet shifted to reveal an ancient stone slab carved with symbols older than the town, older than the country, older than anything human. The girl touched the slab and images flashed through their minds. Settlers in 1008, 151, performing a forbidden ritual to stop a deadly drought, offering their souls to the desert. The ritual backfired, birthing something monstrous, a living desert that consumed life to grow stronger. The girl told them she was the first child sacrificed, doomed to guide new victims so the desert never starved. "It wants balance," she said, her body flickering like dust in the wind. The storm howled in the distance. Time was running out, and the desert had already chosen one of them. The wind grew colder as the storm approached again, swirling with faces of the lost. The group huddled near the ancient stone, but a dark realization spread through them. One of them had been marked. Ethan's shadow began stretching unnaturally, pulling away from his feet, crawling across the sand like a living creature. His breath turned ragged as the storm whispered his name again and again, each repetition louder than the last. He stumbled backward, begging the others to run, but the desert had already decided. The sand beneath him opened like a mouth, pulling him down inch by inch. They grabbed his arms, trying to save him, but the more they pulled, the faster he sank. Ethan's screams echoed across the desert, mixing with the cries of thousands of trapped souls. The storm towered above, its swirling shape forming a hungry vortex. Ethan's shadow wrapped around him like chains, dragging him downward until only his fingertips remained visible, then even they vanished. The dunes smoothed over instantly, as if he had never existed, but the storm's face shifted, revealing Ethan's agonized expression inside it. The desert had taken him, and it was still hungry. Dawn arrived with eerie calm, the sky painted in pale orange, as if nothing unnatural had happened. But Redwater was gone, completely buried under towering dunes where buildings once stood. The survivors walked through the silence, every step sinking into warm, shifting grains. The little sand girl was nowhere to be seen. The storm had retreated into the distance, waiting, watching. They thought they might still escape, but when they reached the outskirts, a new wooden sign stood planted firmly in the sand. The paint was fresh, the letters bold, as though someone, or something, had carved it moments earlier. Welcome to Redwater Population 1. Mia stared at it, breath trembling. There were 3 of them left, yet the sign claimed only 1 person lived here now. The desert hummed softly, almost like a heartbeat. Then the ground beneath them quivered. A hand made of sand reached out near their feet before dissolving back into the dunes. More whispers rose from the earth, forming a single chilling message: stay. The survivors realized the truth. Ethan wasn't the only sacrifice. The desert wasn't done with them, and as the wind lifted the sand around them like a curtain closing, they knew sunrise didn't bring safety. It brought the beginning